Harrison Burton, welcome to the playoffs. A wild Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona reminded us once again why we shouldn't bet this stupid track. Things go weird, things go wrong. We'll recap all that was, as well as look ahead to this week's race at Darlington, talk the Cookout Southern 400, see if there's some opportunity. Books are once again giving us the shaft, so we'll see if we can find some value and hit some winners on this week on the Angle of Pursuit podcast.
Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack.
Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
Brian Twining. We talk about how we shouldn't bet this race, and we still convince ourselves we have avenues to success. Technically, we did. They didn't end up on our card for the show, but you had Parker Retzlaff top 10 at an incredible number. I had Daniel Hemrick at a pretty solid number, salvaging our day for sure. DraftKings was a wild ride. Thankfully for that last caution and the field getting reset. Ended up making most of my money back, so that was nice to see. Harrison Burton, NASCAR playoff driver in his final year, running out of a contract and probably not getting a ride for in 2025. What a weird sport we are a part of.
You know, it's funny that you bring that up because I was actually thinking about that a lot this morning after watching an interview or after watching somebody's post on Twitter of Burton's like post-race press conference. We can talk about how he doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs and all this stuff because of his current season performance. But I think what's more telling is if you go back and you listen to what Bubba Wallace said immediately after the race, and he talked about how at this point he's disappointed that they're not winning races, and that's why he's not in the playoffs. And I think when you're looking at the final couple of spots, like why should we reward somebody who's just been kind of good, but they haven't gotten the win as opposed to somebody who did turn it on for a week, won a race, and now they have a shot. And this is what all American sports are built on, is that underdog story or an underdog reaching the playoffs and even having an opportunity to do something and win a championship that's unheard of. So I actually don't mind this after taking a step back and looking at it from a team sport perspective. I actually kind of like it, I guess, is that you have this variance where you can't just ride around all season and be good and still have a shot at the playoffs. Like every week, the whole goal is to win a race. Like that's same thing in every sport, is to win your game. Yeah. Not finish second best.
I don't know who tweeted it out, but it made a lot of sense. It's basically like if you're 23-11 RCR, Trackhouse, whatever team, and you have all these resources and you can't find a way to get a win, and
Thank
you
you.
can't score enough points, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry if Austin Dillon or Harrison Burton or Austin Cindric or whoever is taking your spot, but like they did what they needed to do and they won a race.
Yeah.
And maybe you can quibble with like it shouldn't be worth a full get in, but at this point it is. So they did what they needed to do. They found a way in. I don't hate it for smaller teams, honestly, because they can use, they may not have a car that can win every week or the funds to push to a win every single week. But if they have a short track car or they have an intermediate car that they think they can push push the right buttons, or at a super speedway and just find a way to get to victory lane, put all your resources towards those handful of races, find a way to get in the playoffs and figure it out from there. Harrison Burton did it. And it was really cool to see Logano and Blaney and, come up to him. Obviously there's a partnership there with the Wood brothers. And obviously Blaney was a Wood brothers driver before he made the switch. So it's kind of cool to see, it's been a season from hell from him. He doesn't know what he's doing next year.
Exactly.
But this is like the one bright light at the end of the tunnel that actually made this season kind of worthwhile.
Well, and then also too, apparently there were multitude of other drivers that went to victory lane to congratulate him as well. And the two most glaring ones were the guys that he essentially knocked out of the playoffs in Ross Chastain and Bubba Wallace. Both went to victory lane to congratulate Harrison Burton, just kind of seeing the road that he's been on this year, learning that he's losing his ride for next year. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's probably not going to be in the Cup Series. And, going back to the whole playoff eligibility type thing, blah, 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 like this is the same argument that I've been backing in like college football or college basketball, for instance. Like the little guys, they deserve their shot too, regardless of what conference they're playing in or whatever, because you never know if they even have the ability to move on in the tournament or in college football playoff or in a college bowl game for that matter, if they don't get the shot to do it. I mean, look, the odds of Harrison Burton advancing out of the round of 16 are very small. I mean, he's probably the smallest of any of the guys that have currently qualified.
He basically has to like win the race, right?
Yeah, basically. But that being said, it's not impossible. That's the idea is that like it's not impossible for him to make it happen.
And we get a super speedway in the first round of 16. We get some other
exactly.
Who knows what he can do? Get hot, Harrison. Make a name for yourself, and force them to find a ride for you in 2025. Let's review the card and the DraftKings lineups that were not fun, but we did some stuff. Let me share my screen here. So I feel like we got to some of the right stuff, but then some of the wrong stuff. It was a frustrating week again for Denny Hamlin, for Kyle Larson. Interesting to see kind of that we got 1 week left. Is it Tyler Reddick's world and we're just living in it?
I would say so. Look, I think at this point, outside of him wrecking this week at Darlington, he's going to win the regular season championship, and he should go into the playoffs, in my opinion, as the favorite.
Yeah, I'm looking. Larson 17 points off. Obviously, he could win this week and change that. Chase Elliott, same. I feel like those are the only two that they're within like 20, and then it's like Blaney at 68 back, Byron at 80 back. Like it feels like it would be really hard for any of those.
Like
guys.
I said, unless Reddick like DNFs or something, I really don't see a world where he's not going to be the regular season champion.
I do appreciate NASCAR figuring out how to get Austin Dillon out of the paint though, or did they still leave him in there for?
No, they took him out.
Okay, good job, NASCAR.com. Only took you an extra week, but we got there. That's okay.
They were probably waiting for the last, final, ultimate appeals process.
Oh yeah, that's true. Hamlin was frustrating. Reddick, I thought was pretty good until he wasn't. Obviously, Carnage got to him. Added to Christopher Bell outright on Sunday morning or Saturday morning. Thought I might get there with that. I felt really good, especially when it was Harrison Burton and Kyle Busch in front of him. I thought, oh yeah, he can get. They're gonna wreck each other or something stupid, and then he's gonna go around and get the win. I'm gonna be really happy. No. Eric Jones was rock solid. Obviously, almost 50, a little over 40% in this contest, so he was very popular, but he was fine. LaJoy, I thought, was having another good race until he had Corey LaJoy issues. So
look, I'm blaming that on Kyle Larson still.
Okay, I don't I don't blame you for believing that, and I honestly probably think the same. But it's also like at some point when Corey LaJoy runs out of talent every single week, it might just be a Corey LaJoy problem.
Yeah, but I will say on this instance, the fact that Corey LaJoy had been one of the few drivers in the Cup Series that had basically run every single lap at Daytona in particular since he's been in the Cup Series, I think to me that's more of an indication that it was somebody else's doing that caused this to happen, since LaJoy has the long resume of being very good here.
The other stat that made me laugh was Chase Briscoe being one of like 3 drivers to not be involved in a caution all day.
Right? That was great.
Very unlike Chase Briscoe.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting some Kyle Busch exposure. He was like considering where he finished, he was fine. Like I don't know if he was like mind blowing, but he was fine.
Yeah.
Daniel Hemrick at 5% felt really good. Justin Haley was strong until he had issues. Stenhouse,
he was caught up in the Michael McDowell half flip, I think.
yeah, that was a wild race. Second week in a row, we had cars upside down. Like Josh Berry just like standing next to in the outside the AMR safety, whatever, just like having an interview, being like, "Yep, no, it was, we were upside down, it was fine, like just no issues." Pretty crazy. Like they've really come a long way with their with the ride, so that was interesting. RFK was a little underwhelming. Like they were fine, but like not.
Yeah, but they were there though. Like Keselowski was fighting for a top 4, and then he got spun coming to the checkered, and Buescher had kind of got cycled back.
How about old Joey Gase, top 20, baby?
Listen, this was the race where if you chose properly, it was stack the back week. I mean, think about it: Burton, Retzlaff, Gase, Hemrick.
We needed a stack farther back. I think we got a little too comfortable.
30 and lower.
I built this, I think, Saturday night. This was one of my better cash lineups. Bell, Chastain, Stenhouse, Jones, LaJoy, Haley. So I think, like I said, luckily at the end I was able to recoup most of my my entry fees, which was really nice.
The fact that Ross Chastain came home 12th after basically wrecking out of the race early on and being one of the first cars to go laps down is amazing.
Yeah. It tells you all you need to know about Daytona. Close your eyes if you don't want to see the blood. Suarez, blah. Hocevar, blah. Ricky Stenhouse, blah. Suarez catching on fire, not even his fault. There was multiple, him and SVG. What is going on with the Trackhouse cars that they're just like catching on fire?
Well, Suarez there was an instance where they showed it. Denny like stopped in their pit box and he backfired and it lit the
I saw that, and then Daniel Suarez just like sitting in his car driving with it on fire.
Yeah,
get out of your car.
Yeah, and then SVG just exploded. He had that team must have borrowed an engine from JGR because he said there was no indication that something was happening, and then all of a sudden, boom. And something else I thought was really eerie about that was that happened basically simultaneously with Eric Jones blowing a right front and Martin Truex Jr. like 10 seconds before that blowing a left front, I believe it was.
It's like NASCAR had a switch that they flipped to like make the whole track just like go upside down. My Chris Bell bet I was happy with, especially at 25. I think that was a good bet. These wild card bets were fine. Briscoe over KFB was probably stupid, but Briscoe was clean all day. I thought Kyle Busch would have Kyle Busch issues, but no, he's been pretty good the past couple weeks. We'll see if he can finish the regular season strong, but decent. You're obviously on Bubba, Hocevar, Buescher, Chastain. We had some nonsense, and then obviously Chris Buescher top 4 we both really liked, but couldn't quite get it home. You're still crushing on the year. I'm digging myself back.
Again, small unit plays. That's
digging myself into a little bit of a hole. See if I can dig myself out. Let's talk Darlington because these odds are disgusting. I have MGM, I have Caesars, and I have FanDuel up. FanDuel has been pretty good about not only having a variety of options, but seemingly having the best numbers. So we'll talk about what they have too. But Larson, Hamlin, Reddick, Byron, Truex, Keselowski is pretty much your 10-1 and less. I don't really want to bet Larson, Hamlin, or Reddick. I know there was a 750 on Reddick, maybe with MGM. That's now 6. So if you want to play the just bet the best number if it's off of what every other book has, but at this point I don't know that you can bet Larson, Hamlin, or Reddick without seeing qualifying.
Yeah, it's interesting that we've gotten to this point with Larson, for instance, who at the beginning of the year, if you saw 5 or and a quarters, especially, you were jumping all over that because he was probably closing at 3.
Hamlin at 7 and Reddick and Larson at 650 at FanDuel is pretty incredible given where the rest of the market is at.
So I like the Denny number at 7, and I might actually add that just because when you look at what happened here in the spring, Toyotas were by and large the best car on Saturday.
Yeah. One, I told you that I wanted to bet Hamlin top 5 most likely anyway, so I'm going to add that as well because the fact that I'm getting 7-1 on a guy who's like around 5.5 most places, I'm happy to take that value.
Yeah.
And I think he can legitimately win. I've been betting far too much Denny Hamlin of late, and I don't love it, but we'll see if we can find a way to make it work. Beyond those names, then we're talking like Byron, who I really want to bet, but I can't bet him at like 10-1 or even like shorter than that.
I mean, why not though? He's probably going to qualify well.
It's probably true. It's just like it's been such a weird year for him. Like he was so solid. Wormy said he was going to be Jimmy Johnson, then he's just been a mess ever since.
That is
like,
so mean, man.
Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like if he qualifies well, what is he, 8 or 9? Or does he go to like
I think probably based on what he's been doing recently, yeah, you're probably not going to see the dip that you would have at the beginning of the season when he was getting cut in half down to like 5 or 6 favorites here. But I think the arrival of Tyler Reddick as being as good as he's been really cuts into his shortening potential, I guess you would say. So, I mean, even if you get it at 10, which is at Caesars and FanDuel, like you're saying, he's probably going down to 7 or 8. And at that point, that's still a decent bet on a guy that's as skilled as him if he has the car.
Yeah, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 top 10s in his last 11 races. But like he got second in Iowa. He popped Michigan, was second. But like, did you ever feel like he could win Michigan, or was he just kind of hanging around and all of a sudden get second at the end? That's how I feel.
Yeah, like I don't think anybody was going to beat Reddick at Michigan. It was a Toyota track for me. I said that from the beginning.
Finishing second, like I felt like he was more of like a top 5 car than like a top 3 car.
Well, you got to think Truex basically shat the bed.
Yeah.
Like Gibbs, he had his typical stuff. Denny didn't have a great day.
And he was 4th at Pocono. He was second at, like, he's been there for a couple of races, but I don't feel like he's even 3rd at Charlotte. Like, there's a lot of like 30th places. So I guess if you're going to bet him to pop, but it just feels like a short price to pay for someone who I do really like, who's been really feast or famine.
Yeah.
Keselowski. Gibbs is the other name that I really want to bet. There's
not at 12 though.
Huh?
Not at that price.
The only one though is there's 16 at BetMGM. That's the number that's compelling to me.
Even that though, like
yeah, I'm not betting 10, and I'm not betting 12.
So I will say on Gibbs at 16, dude hasn't won yet. I mean,
yeah, but he's due, Brian.
Yeah, but he shouldn't be 16. He should be in the 20s.
I mean, he should be, but he also, books were doing this where they would price him at like 9 or 11 or something.
Yeah, I mean, okay, if you were to tell me that I had the choice between betting Ty Gibbs, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, or even Ross Chastain or Kyle Busch this week, I'm going to take all of those guys over Ty Gibbs at current market value. And even if they were priced the same, I just don't. Why would I want to pick a driver who has yet to show the ability to actually finish the race at the end? He's basically Tyler Reddick's redheaded stepchild at this point. Like, if we were giving shit to Tyler Reddick about not being able to finish races and win, Ty Gibbs is an infant compared to Tyler Reddick at this point. Yeah. So why would you bet that number when you can get all these other guys at much longer odds?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, would you rather bet Byron at 10 or Gibbs at 16? Byron, second best driver rating over the last 7 races, has a win, 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s.
It's probably honestly, it's probably Byron, just because we've seen him be able to win races when he has cars good enough, and when he doesn't have cars good enough to win races, he finds a way to keep it up there and potentially snag I wouldn't call it lucky, but just be in the right place at the right time and claim the victory. Whereas Gibbs, he can have the best car and something is going to happen. Like,
Yeah, well, and even if he puts it on the pole and has a rocket ship in practice, what is he, like 8 or 9 to 1?
oh, I don't think if he opens at 16 at BetMGM, for instance, at 16, he's not dipping below double digits. I don't think they're going to cut him in half because he's not Tyler Reddick.
So there's no reason to bet him now.
And if he's at 12, I mean, how much shorter can they get? Like, if Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin and Tyler Reddick are anywhere near him, they can't shorten Gibbs to their price.
So what's Byron's short number? Can he get to like 6 or 7?
If Byron comes out and he has the fastest car in practice and he puts it on the front row, I think he's probably like the Denny price at FanDuel. So around 657.
That's tempting. Convincing myself that maybe Byron might be the bet. We'll see if I get there. Yeah, you're probably right.
Like, I did start this by saying, like, at Darlington in the spring, the Toyotas were the fastest.
Yeah.
In
Logano at 18, Blaney at 20, Chase Elliott at 20. Like, there's some interesting numbers that if they look really good, like Logano has been pretty decent here. Like, he hasn't, and it's been kind of a trending in the wrong direction over the last couple of races, but he did win the spring race back in 22 and then was 4th in this race, put it on the pole both times, but then 18th, 12th, and 21st. But he was 4th after stage 2 this year, so it's not like he's been bad here. He just hasn't been quite as good. But like back to 2020, he was 18th, but then 6th, 3rd, 13th, 8th, 1st, 4th. Like, he's had some really good results. And buying him at 18, or is that the best number we can get? Is there like a 20? Yeah, that's a 16. 20. There's a 20 at FanDuel. So like, I don't love Joey Logano most weeks, but I think that's a fine number if you want to get a piece of that.
Yeah, like, if you're not in the situation that I am, for instance, where I'm sitting on Logano's win total at over 1.5 already, for a significant amount, this current price on him is not bad. That being said, what has been the biggest issue for this team in the Cup Series and the next gen car in particular? Speed at high speed intermediates. And he's been good leading up to the race, but I just don't see them having the pace to run up front here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely concerning. There's also, we have to figure out, like we talked a little bit about it, kind of pre-podcast, but we got to figure out what we expect from each driver this week with basically the last week of the season. Like, teams that don't need to push it aren't going to push it. I will say Logano's results over the last like 2 months is pretty disgusting. So 21st at Sonoma, 6th at Iowa, 32nd at New Hampshire, 1 Nashville, but then 23rd at Chicago Street, 5th at Pocono, 34th at Indy, 19th at Richmond, 33 at Michigan, 31 at Daytona. And he did have a really good car at Daytona, obviously, with an accident kind of ending.
Like, obviously, running up front as often as he does there, it leads to other people trying to get around you and wrecks and stuff like that. So,
I mean, he's had an accident in 3 of his last 4 races. That's not what you're looking
poor
for.
Guy.
But yeah, no, I'm with you in terms of showing that elite speed is not.
Well, and I think the most telling thing that you said in there, like, the results at Indy and Pocono are like, those are true results in terms of like how the car is. And so when you're looking at comparables, I mean, obviously those aren't comparable just in track design and all that stuff to Darlington, but you're going to need that you're going to need pace here. And that team just hasn't showed that. It's been Ryan Blaney by a long shot out of the Penske garage in terms of who's been good, or even
not Austin Cindric.
No, he's already got his win. He's not.
Yeah. I mean, talking about luck boxed. Blaney is also interesting.
Yeah, I don't
12th in the
hate the
spring,
Blaney.
but 8th, 3rd. There's a 5th. There's a 7th. But yeah, once again, we got to figure out like, are any of these drivers really going to push this week? Like any of the Penske garage?
Well, yeah, I mean, they really don't have anything to lose at this point, so I don't see why
That's true.
those guys that are secure in the playoffs, I think they're probably going YOLO too, because what do they have to lose going for a win here? They're still going to
Yeah.
be racing the next week for a championship, and so unless you're, say, I want to say a guy like Alex Bowman, for instance, right now he's currently 12th in the playoff standings. I mean, who's he? He's good. He could possibly move up a couple of spots if he can get past like Daniel Suarez and Austin Cindric in terms of overall points. But outside of that, like, where is he going? So,
Yeah.
but I
Do
think that really
you?
does open up the conversation for. I think this really plays into Martin Truex Jr., for instance. He's basically locked in. But if something catastrophic happens early on in the race, like, there's a possibility that he gets jumped. If say both Ty Gibbs and Chris Buescher, and then we get both finish really well, and then we get a new winner.
Yeah.
So, like, a guy
Yeah.
like him, like, what are we doing?
Yeah. I think like the 23, or I think like Ross is somebody who's going to really push for a win.
Well, Kyle Busch too. That's
Kyle Busch. Bubba's. I don't know.
he's got
Bubba's
to win
probably going
too.
to have
Like,
to like play it by ear. He's going to keep himself close enough where if he needs to get aggressive, he can. But if
well,
there's issues, he can kind of just take advantage and finish strong.
yeah, but the thing is being 21 points behind, he's basically racing Chris Buescher and Ross Chastain. Like, those are his two competitors right now.
Yeah.
And Ross is going all out for a win. Because at this point, 27 points behind the cut line, behind Chris Buescher, like, he did it. In order to make that up, the only way that's possible is if you win the race or Buescher wrecks like before the end of stage one.
Yeah.
And I don't really see that happening. And so they can't play for that. So, Chastain's going for a win, which to me then forces the hand of Bubba Wallace, who's only 6 points ahead of Ross Chastain. And this is a track that Wallace has actually been really good at in the past, running inside the top 10 pretty frequently. And, Denny's been good here. So why wouldn't Denny be in Bubba's ear in 2311 camp? Like, hey, this is what we're going to give you. We're going to give you the best car, and we need you to get up front. So, like, Bubba for me is somebody I like in pole bets or like qualifying type stuff, because I think he's going to come out with a rocket ship. Like, they have to. They cannot stop behind the eight ball here.
With Bubba and Chastain specifically, do you feel better just taking them outright, or even like a top 3 instead of doing like a top 10? Because that feels really sketchy. Yeah. Like, it could be a rough day if things don't go perfectly.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I'm looking at like Chastain and Bubba in particular is it's outright or bust, or maybe even going with like a top 5, for instance. Mm-hmm. But like top 10, especially now, the prices are so short, you're not getting paid on it, and that doesn't do anything for them either. Like, Bubba finishes 10th and Chris Buescher finishes 20th. He's not making up the difference, especially if Buescher runs near or ahead of Bubba all day during stages 1 and 2. Like, those guys are not making up that point differential.
Yeah, Buescher feels a little bit safer for like a top 10 or like a matchup play.
Yes. So that's funny you say that, because that was the first guy I gravitated towards when odds started to drop. I was shopping his numbers for top 10, which obviously they suck right now. So
let's look at some race matchups. So Chase minus 130 versus Chastain, Larson, Hamlin, Byron, Bell. They're kind of gross and lopsided. Bubba at like 370 to top 5 isn't bad.
Yeah, see, I actually that's a number that I can kind of get behind. And then I think right there, okay, Josh Berry, I think is going to be a wild card this weekend because he ran here extremely well in the spring. They've actually shown pretty good at the shorter tracks of late, and they've shown some speed here out of the SHR camp. And he's in the same conversation as like a Kyle Busch or what Harrison Burton was last week. So if one of these teams is going to come out here and just go YOLO from the beginning, it's going to be Barry. And personally, I have a little bit 50-1 on him, tiny amount outright. I don't advocate for betting that because it's probably dead on arrival, but like just in case this comes to fruition, like I don't hate shopping Barry lines this week at all.
Yeah. Get Harrison Burton at 75 to top 5.
That's not happening. They are literally just going to be coasting on their win from last week. He's going to ride in the back of the pack the entire race just to troll everybody.
Let's see.
And I will say, I apologize to the folks here, but as this season has progressed and I've evolved as a bettor, like I'm getting less and less inclined at just betting numbers. So
don't worry, folks. I'll just start firing. That's my job.
Oh, see, okay, you can get Josh Berry at 55-1 to win the race at DK.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and I don't hate that at all. He's only 2-1 the top 10. I don't think that's a good number, but like I'm not interested in that.
No.
Yeah, that's
DK really loves to shorten numbers.
Oh yeah, they're the worst. Which is a wild statement considering last year FanDuel wasn't even posting odds.
Yeah. Yeah. FanDuel's made significant improvements.
They have.
Busher over KFB makes sense, but I don't really want to lay minus 145. I like how DK just like, you guys are paying on both sides here. Minus 120 versus minus 115.
Yeah, that's garbage. I'm not okay. Martin Truex Jr. over Ty Gibbs.
Yeah. I like Ty Gibbs and I still like that bet.
Yeah, I don't really know why that's priced like that is. I might have to add that because yeah, I'm going to bet that. Man, yeah, they've really slow playing the markets today.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. I don't like anybody top Chevy.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those markets.
Chris Buescher, 420 to top Ford. That feels pricey. 14-1 for Josh Berry to be top Ford.
Ooh, I mean, if you want to get
that.
Yeah,
I'll take a little piece of that.
Yeah, because I would actually say that at this particular track, I would say he's really competing against RFK.
Yeah.
Because yeah, that's better than his top 3 number, and I mean, not that those two guys can't finish well ahead of him, but
yeah. Yeah, and like Logano or Blaney may do that too, but I think if he's competitive enough where he's up front, he'll have a real good shot at being the top Ford, and I think that's ultimately what matters. And you're getting paid out on it too. If it was like 6 or 7-1, I would have no interest, but since it's 14, I'm fine with that.
Exactly.
I was hoping we get a decent top Toyota market with Reddick and Hamlin being so priced so aggressively, but Bubba at 14 is fine. I mean, I guess if you think Bubba really pushes and he could be the top Toyota, I don't hate it, but I might go to the outright instead.
Yeah, I would probably rather bet just Bubba outright. Because you're getting double the number.
Isn't it like 35 or something?
He's 28.
Yeah.
I think he's 28 at FanDuel. And then also too, you limit risk by betting Bubba top 5 too. Because wasn't that like 3-1 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's plus 370. I'm actually gonna hit that. I'm gonna bet that.
Well, Bubba plus 360 against Elliott, Busher, and Blaney. It's not like he's the longest shot, but I don't know.
I don't dislike that.
Yeah. I don't hate Ross at plus 420 against Bell, Truex, and Keselowski.
Well, Keselowski is really strong here, though.
Yeah. Ooh. I just gotta bet him to win.
Ooh, Bubba's 4-1 top 5 at Bet365. That is where we're going, folks.
Fired up.
Love that. Wow, do they have... Oh, yeah, they don't have any matchups so far. That sucks. They do have the manufacturer markets. Let's see these. Ooh, you get Chase Elliott at 7-1 top Chevy.
Hendrick plus 275 to win the race.
That gives you Larson, Byron, Elliott.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's probably going to be close to what Larson closes at. If he qualifies on the pole, he's probably going to close at plus 350.
Sir.
Plus 400.
Chevy at 2-1 or Hendrick at 275. Is that extra 75 worth eliminating all the Chevys? Because
well, you got Chastain and Busch, I think, are the two most likely other Chevys.
Yeah, and I don't think either of them are super likely, especially given their outright price. But
well, I was just gonna say, if you bet Hendrick at plus 275 or plus 275.
Yeah.
And then you can split the difference between Chastain and Busch and just put a little on those guys individually as well. Because then you're basically covering all your bases for Chevy, because Daniel Suarez ain't winning here. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is not winning here. Corey LaJoie is not competing here. I don't think Alex Bowman's going to win here.
Yeah.
The rest of the Spire garage is not winning here.
I mean, it says driver wins race. If a driver will win the race, so isn't that just free money at 525?
Unfortunately, that's just part of their effed up UI, because it's somebody for sure.
It's weird.
Yeah, they're lame. They got to get their bleep together for sure.
Is there anything worth betting this week? I have Hamlin at 7 on FanDuel, and I have Josh Berry to top Ford, and I think that may be it.
Yeah, I got the Bubba top 5 number. I like that, 4-1.
I want to bet some Gibbs and I want to bet some Byron. Maybe I should just bet Byron at 10-1.
So again, that's the thing, is Byron is kind of that guy that's flying under the radar at the moment, because he did have that string of races where that team as a whole kind of imploded.
Mm-hmm.
So I would actually really like to see, I don't know, let me do a quick. If we got a William Byron versus Ty Gibbs matchup, please give me the juice with William Byron there, because Ty Gibbs is being so overvalued at this point this week, in my opinion, that I want to fade him across the board, especially with him. He needs a good result. He does not need to risk anything riding up front for him to get into the playoffs. And I think that's probably going to be team orders, is we're not going to be aggressive, or we're not going to be overly aggressive. We just want to get into the playoffs. So that means, to me, stage points in stage 1 and stage 2, which could potentially sacrifice his finishing result at the end. Whereas a guy like Byron, who's got 3 wins already under his belt, they have 0 to lose to go for a win.
Yeah, so maybe he's a better like top 5 bet or matchups or something.
Yeah, so like Gibbs, if you could get a discounted price on him in like the top 10 market, I think is fairly safe. Because I think even if he does do what I was saying and goes for stage points early and sacrifice track position late, I think his car will probably be good enough to get back up near that spot. But right now, you can't bet that based on current price without seeing them at the track.
No. Yeah, there's just I don't know. Like I guess football's coming, so they've shifted their focus a lot more than usual, but there's just the numbers that they have aren't very appealing, and the options that we have are kind of gross.
Yeah, and you don't want to force stuff. That's the thing.
No.
I mean, especially coming off a week where we were lighter, you kind of feel the need to have to force stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, shit. Is there anything else you want to look at? Anything else that I may have missed looking at?
Well, I want to look at real quick, like other Larson markets. So you get minus 105, top 5 at Bet365. Because yeah, I think it'd be smart to have some. Oh man. Sorry, folks. Just got word live on show. The 49ers cut Robbie Chosen.
Wow. Who could have seen it coming? Does this mean Brandon Ayuk is back? Was he the Brandon Ayuk?
Absolutely not. That has 0 to do with Brandon Ayuk.
I don't know. Feels pretty simpatico.
Yeah, let me see. So Larson minus 120 at FanDuel. What's
Yeah, we
DK
just bet
got?
Larson at 7 at FanDuel and call it a day.
He's 7-1 now?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Damn. Yeah, screw it. I'm doing that too. Like you don't see Larson posted at 7-1 often.
One of the either Larson could be like 12 when we're talking again, but the odds of that happening are pretty low. And
he's not going to go to 12 at this track at a high speed.
I don't know. I just feel like there's been a few times where he's been like higher than he should be, and I've jumped on it. And it either goes to like 2 or 3, or it goes to like 10 or 12. Like there's no.
Yeah, but I feel like those were at tracks where he never really was.
Mm-hmm.
Like he didn't have the history that he does here.
Yeah, I think grabbing Larson and Hamlin now, seeing how everybody qualifies, and then supplementing later is probably the move. Especially because I don't love the 5 or 525 or whatever, but if you get 7.
Yeah, that's crazy, especially because they're probably going to be the 2 strongest cars. Yeah. Kyle Larson has speed every single week. It's just his own boneheaded moves and uber aggressiveness that costs him races. Last week, Kyle Larson almost single-handedly wrecked the field multiple times at Daytona. Like he either needs to get in the sim with like Denny Hamlin or Joey Logano and learn how to better drive at super speedways, or maybe he should just start giving up his ride at super speedways for somebody like Justin Allgaier. Like, because
that'll
he's a
happen
danger to society out there.
That'll happen for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, for now, that's all I need. Hamlin outright, Larson outright, Josh Berry top Ford. That's all I need. Brian has Hamlin, Larson, Kyle Busch, because sure, why not? Can't help you. How many weeks in a row is that betting Kyle Busch? Like 14?
Hey, how many weeks in a row did I bet Tyler Reddick before it finally
fair?
Hit? Like
fair. At least, I mean, I guess Kyle's been better, but I don't know. 35 isn't bad. And then you took the Gibbs or MTJ over Gibbs. Hey, Bubba top 5. Brian, you were saying how light you were going to keep your card. Now you're like spraying the board. You're loading up.
Well, I mean,
all right.
These are numbers that I think are going to be much, much shorter by the time we reconvene here on the weekend.
Smart. We will have college football to bet on this weekend. Very excited about that.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to schedule this because I will be at the sports book all day
I don't know.
Saturday.
We'll thread the needle. Ohio State plays at noon. Michigan plays at night.
Yeah, but Michigan plays Fresno State, so we could probably
So
do
that'll
that.
be
And I'll just
over.
have it on the side because they're gonna kick
Yeah,
the
the
shit out of
question
them.
is, do we trust the Jim Harbaugh numbers with the home overs, or do we need to go under, or what do we need to do there?
That's funny.
That's my question.
True.
All right, Brian Twining, it's good to get back. It's good to talk the final race of the NASCAR regular season, which is a wild statement. Like Brian said, we'll be back on In Your Feed Sunday morning. No Saturday, no Monday, no nonsense. We're back to our normal routine. So make sure you are subscribed if you've not done that. Make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. It's free. It comes in your email every race day. It has DraftKings thoughts. It has betting picks. It has the full betting card. It has links to episodes. It has all the good stuff. AOPpodcast.substack.com. AOPpodcast.substack.com. Link is in the description.
And before we get out of here, I'm excited to go to Mexico next year.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get to go to San Diego at some point because that would be fun. For Brian
Angle of
Twining.
Pursuit NASCAR party at my place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll definitely have an Angle of Pursuit get together if they end up moving a NASCAR race to San Diego. For Brian Twining, I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next time.